welcome to Forbidden Planet 42. This time with one of our favourite filmmakers, Mr. Duncan Jones, the man behind Moon, the man behind Source Code, Warcraft and Mute. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. That's awesome to see you. So Duncan, can you fill me in a bit on your history of Forbidden Planet and when you first became aware of the store?
Yeah, I mean, I was, I had a bit of a strange upbringing and traveled a lot growing up. And there was certain places, whenever especially when I came back to London, where I would always try and stop off, and Forbidden Planet was one of them. And I remember the very first time that I came to Forbidden Planet, which would have been the early '80s. I was at that when I was like 11 or 12 years old, so I was with an adult, and I was looking for Dungeons and Dragons stuff, anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons at that time. That was what I was into, and I remember going into Forbidden Planet and feeling like this is Aladdin's cave. It's just there's all sorts of stuff I wouldn't even have thought to be interested in at that time. And I think we spent about 2 hours in there. We were only supposed to just pop in and just ask if they had some like D&D modules or something like that. So I was looking at dice. I was always looking for dice, and ended up spending hours in there just having my mind blown at all this stuff that I hadn't. At that age, I really didn't know that much about.
Yeah. So I mean that's the Forbidden Planet trick, isn't it? That you go in looking for one thing, and you come out quite some time later. Yeah, sort of, with a whole bunch of other stuff.
Definitely its appeal and its danger.
Yeah, so true.
Is that you definitely, almost all the time that I'm going there, when I was younger, it was because I was looking for something and ended up getting other things. But as I've gotten older, now it's just the pleasure of seeing what's going on in there. And to be honest, I think the transition in culture from back when I was a kid and the stores were a little bit dangerous. No disrespect, a little bit seedy. All the stores around there were a little bit seedy. Yeah. To now, where it really feels like part of the culture and the mega store is vast with its huge library downstairs and everything. I mean, I love the new store, I really do. Yeah. But it's definitely changed from feeling a bit naughty to feeling like part of culture.
So true. I mean, Denmark Street in the original store, the Tin Pan Alley area, that really had that seedy underbelly vibe to it, which I love as much as I love the megastore now, right? Yeah. And they're both equally legitimate experiences. Yeah.
Especially when you're a kid and you wander around, there's all these hairy blokes and stuff looking through. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. And now it's everybody. Everybody's there. Like, older people, younger people, men, women, everyone's in the store.
I think that's the beauty of it, and some of this has an echo in your career, I think, which is that I grew up in a world where everyone was obsessed with sports and with football. I'm from Merseyside originally, and football is a religion there. And so to be sat on a tube while everybody's going into Anfield to see Liverpool play, but you're reading a Batman comic, back then you just really stand out, and it was a cause of some tension for it, But these days, the two dominant entertainment forces in the world are sports, like it always has been, and popular culture, cult entertainment. And to have lived through that arc, and those 42 years of Forbidden Planet have gone from, the seedy backstreet store with Mansolini comics almost from under his Mac or whatever, to being this like completely world-dominating entertainment source. That's been an amazing ride.
It's true, and it's almost taken on a kind of an academic proportion now. Because I mean, I think I've, as you may know, I've been working a little bit with Rebellion Studios and kind of getting a chance to go up and visit them and what they're doing, and they have this most extraordinary archive of historic British comics and what happened in the past that has kind of been lost over the course of time. And obviously, I think they just did a remake of Roy of the Rovers or something. But
yeah, they have done, yeah, for sure.
They've got so much stuff that even predates Forbidden Planet.
Yes,
and I think it's just amazing how comics are kind of have now been around long enough that we've forgotten stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
kind of great because they're going to get remade and republished and brought back to people's attention and sort of say, oh my God, this is what people were looking at as comic fare from you know, like since 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago. So maybe you'll be getting a few of those in Forbidden Planet over the next few years.
Yeah, I think it's more than likely. When you look back on when you were younger, you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. What other things were you into in the kind of pop culture wheelhouse?
Well, Dungeons and Dragons was a big one for me. I mean, there was a kind of a small nerdy group of us at my school who kind of got into that and absolutely loved that. So I can definitely remember that period between 10 and 12, sort of just turning 13. That was all I was into. And then I went off to school, up to this boarding school in the north of Scotland, and everything changed. No one was interested in that up there. But I remember actually that's where I think I got more into comic books then, because I started getting things like Eagle, the old Commando comic books.
Oh, great stuff! Yeah.
Tiger. There was another one as well. What was it? Well, obviously 2000 AD, but I think that was that was just a little bit like a year or two later, I think. But yeah, that's when I really kind of started getting more into comic books as opposed to other role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, things like that.
And that really is the classic era of British comics, and that's where a lot of the guys who became very influential on the global comic scene, from Alan Moore to Grant Morrison to Garth Ennis to Neil Gaiman. That's where they all had their grounding, their schooling was with those books.
It's kind of incredible to see how rich and the diaspora of how British artists and writers have kind of made their way. I mean, I guess across the US, because that's really where the meat of the comics industry is. But just there's so many great people who work in comics who've come from the UK. And I still love UK comics, and I think Rebellion are doing a great job.
They are doing a fantastic job, yeah.
And the people that they're working with on the new Dread stories, things like that, are terrific. But it is always fun to see all these names that you remember from your childhood popping up in DC and Marvel Comics. It's like, hey, you've done well for yourself.
Yeah. No, it's tremendously satisfying, and you've touched upon something I want to ask you about in a bit, but. Of course, before we talk about that, I'd just like to chat to you about your thoughts about Moon. Now it's amazingly 11 years since Moon was released. And for the benefit of our viewers, our sister company, one of the things we worked on with Duncan was publishing the Making of Moon book, which you can see links to here attached near this interview. And if you haven't bought it, I couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's co-edited by my friend and colleague Simon Ward, and that's a great book, actually, mate, that we're super proud of. But how do you feel about it all now? 11 now that you can look back on it 11 years later.
It's actually fun to have a look through the book just to sort of jog my memory sometimes, because it is a while ago now. It's long enough ago that I actually remember feeling like a young man when I did it. So I don't know if I'd have the energy to do that anymore. It was hard work, but it was very satisfying, and I'm incredibly proud that we made something that seems to be standing the test of time, and getting to work with Sam Rockwell, who's just an absolutely amazing, talented guy and a lovely bloke as well.
Yeah, never gives a bad performance. Always so supremely watchable. Yeah,
and I think you know what, anyone who is interested in how films get made, especially when you're really trying to stretch your pound, and do something that's probably too expensive to do for the money you've got. I think that Making Moon book is well worth a look, because there was a lot of clever tricks in there, and you could see the very talented people involved really having to use their noggins to come up with ways to pull off the impossible.
No, absolutely. I mean, I guess it's the that scarcity is the mother of invention thing, right?
Absolutely. All the time. And you always get the more ingenious and unique solutions when you can't do it the way you kind of would plan or would otherwise normally have to do something or think you have to do something. You have to come up with new ways to do it, and those new ways make the things you do. It just gives it that little sense of originality that it wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, no, I hear that's very interesting. To anybody who's intrigued to pick up a copy of Making Moon, you're going to find the URL to pick it up from forbiddenplanet.com in the descriptor for this YouTube video. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, of course, next year it's going to be 10 years since you made source code. So how did that process feel to you, going from Making Moon, and then going into the production of source code? How different an experience was that for you?
Well, it's interesting because at the time it felt like, oh, I'm stepping into the big time here. This is big studio filmmaking with big stars. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this yet. But Moon had not yet. I don't think it had yet come out theatrically. I think we knew it was going to come out, and I think we'd done. We were this is when I actually signed on to do source code. And we kind of grabbed the opportunity because we didn't know if Moon was going to be a success or not. And I was like, okay, so these guys like my movie. Jake likes the film. I'll take this movie while I've got the chance, and make sure that I'm going to get a chance to make another movie. So I leapt onto source code, and then Moon did great, and it was all good. But it was a different experience, but it actually still had kind of an indie feel to it as far as when we were making it. It was definitely a step up in budget, and as I said, it was working with bigger, well-known stars and obviously a bigger cast than Moon, which was just the one. But obviously, after source code, I made that film Warcraft, which was a huge studio film, and it kind of you really get a sense of scale. With those animations you see online sometimes where it starts off on like a city and it zooms back from the Earth and it shows you how big the Earth is and then how big the other planets are and then how big the galaxy is. That's kind of how my career has felt. It's like, look at this, starting off with Moon and then source code. Oh, that's a big film. And then you move back to Warcraft. That's a really big film. And then I got my feet back on the ground with Mute. So
And how was it? Because Warcraft's such a big film, and that sort of gear change where you back into what you did with Mute, which is a very personal movie. I mean, is there any kind of sense of like static shock or whatever when you go from one to the other when you change gears like that?
I'll save the Warcraft story for another day because it was quite epic. But I was on it for 3.5 years, which is a long time to be on one movie. And there was a lot of different, very strong views on what that film should be from very disparate groups. So it was very much a political job as much as a filmmaking job. And it was a tricky one, I have to be honest. Which is why after doing that, my producer Stuart Finnegan had managed to wangle Netflix into agreeing to make Mute with me, which and totally hands off, kind of just letting me make this little art movie for yourself, this little sci-fi project, and it was very therapeutic for me after having had that experience.
That is good to hear, and I would love to hear the unexpurgated Warcraft story at some point.
One day.
So at the moment, right, you're working with our pals over at Rebellion, and I mean, are you still working on Rogue Trooper? Is that what you're focusing on at the moment?
I mean, the project is really ready to go. Obviously, what's going on in the world, the virus has had an impact on how and when we get things shooting. So we're basically trying to work out the lay of the land right now. I've been talking to, Edgar Wright's a buddy of mine. I've been talking to him a little bit about what's getting shot where and how they're shooting things. Because they're setting up a whole bunch of new rules and things like that to try and create as safe an environment as possible. My wife is a cancer survivor, so we need to make sure that whatever it is I do next, and when I do it, I don't get sick because I don't want to get her sick. So I've got to be really, really careful. So we're being maybe more cautious than most, but it's the right thing for my family.
Of course,
So
of course,
we'll
absolutely.
wait until we know exactly how we can do this and keep everybody safe.
Yeah. And you touched upon working with which I think is a very laudable thing to do, and the only way forward, in fact, because as we both know, family is everything, and they're the people you need to look after first, and
Yeah.
and particularly in this very precarious world in which we find ourselves right now.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated to see how slowly people in the movie industry are piecing filming back together, just in the way, I guess, that the entertainment or the bars and restaurants or whatever have come back to a degree, but with the social distancing and whatnot. Doing that in a performative sense, I think, must be a very difficult thing to get right.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you and to work with you today and do whatever I could to help out is Forbidden Planet has always been a place that has been very cathartic and has always felt like a bit of a home for, I know, not just for me, for a lot of people who are interested in genre material, and I want to make sure that you lot survive and keep going and around when we need you.
Yeah. Amen to that. So do we. I mean, and that's of course part and parcel of what we're doing with Forbidden Planet 42. This celebration has come along at a great time when we're really ramping up our online presence. So this feeds into that. So I really appreciate you shaking out the time to talk to us as a fellow traveller and somebody I know who's always been very supportive of the store. Actually, something about do you know this? Do you know that talking about Rebellion in 2000 AD?
Yeah.
So Nick Landor, one of our two owners, along with Vivian Chung. He was one of the first Thargs in 2000 AD.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah.
I should know that.
He started out as the deputy editor of 2000 AD for the first maybe 150 issues or so. When all the great stuff, the basic DNA of it was really put together. And he was, I believe, the third Tharg. So if you ever read the early Judge Dredd story, The Cursed Earth, where they go, that he commissioned that. It is kind of amazing. I was thinking about Rogue Trooper. One of the reasons I was so excited you were attached to that is another good mate of ours is Dave Gibbons, of course, who is the original artist, genius, original artist on Rogue Trooper. And I saw Dave a while back when you could still actually, go. We had lunch at Christmas, I think, not this Christmas, the one before. Yeah. And it was just about the time you were starting to get involved, and he was super excited about it. He was also super excited about the Watchmen series that Damon Lindelof put together, which is a great piece of work. So, I can't wait for you to get started on that.
And we're excited. Dave's read the script as well, so you'll have to ask him what he thinks when you.
I absolutely will. Absolutely.
Can I mention one more thing? I mean,
of course you can.
But I don't know if you are aware that I just did this very successful Kickstarter, which is kind of done now, with Alex DeCampi, who's an amazing writer,
amazing talent. Yeah.
And we've done this graphic novel called Maddie, which is essentially the third part of the anthology between Moon, Mute, and Maddie being the third piece. So that book will be done in November. It'll start going out to the people who bought it on Kickstarter, and then we're going to be releasing it to any good bookseller who's interested in carrying it. So that's just for you to know that that's going to be coming out in November.
We'll definitely be carrying it, and one of the things is Forbidden Planet 42 is giving birth to Forbidden Planet Television. So we're going to be doing this on a regular weekly basis, tied into new releases. So when Maddie comes out, it'd be great if you could come back, maybe with Alex, and we'll talk about it in detail. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Love to do that.
That would be awesome. And finally, Duncan, have you got any other things? Is there any other future projects on any kind of platforms or things that you're thinking about that you can share with us?
That I can share with you is the tricky bit. I've been with the limited amount of time I've got, I've actually found a kind of a rich vein of form on writing lately. So I've been working on a few things. One of them is I wish I could. I can't talk about them. I can't talk about it. I wish I could.
It's often the way, and I totally understand. Mate, I know you're super busy, so thank you. And you know you've got all the things on your plate, so thank you for carving out the time.
Oh,
for us
my
today.
pleasure.
It's
Absolutely.
really great to chat with you. And please come back and see us when Maddie
I will
gets
do.
released.
Let's catch up in the future about Maddie, because I think you'd really enjoy it. If you have a little, if you want, I can send you a few sort of sneaky peeks.
I would love you to, mate. That would be phenomenal. Thank you. That'd be great.
All right then.
I'd love to see that. So you have been watching FP42 with the one and only Duncan Jones. Thanks so much for joining us today, mate. It's great to see you.
My pleasure. Bye.